What is up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the Numbers. This is my betting breakdown video for UFC Las Vegas. We got Petr Yan going against Merab Dvalishvili.
I need all the wins, yeah. Harder than all that is. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out.
And we are back breaking down another UFC card. We're talking some bets here for UFC Las Vegas, 13-fight card. We did unfortunately lose the Ricardo Ramos-Austin Lingo fight, which sucks. I bet Ramos on Sunday at like minus 250 and currently is like minus 400. So beat a ton of line movement there, but that fight's off. And it looks like the Jared Goodin Carlston Harris fight is going to be on despite Jared Goodin missing weight by like 6 or 7 pounds. So we did lose a fight, but still 13 fights. I think it's a very good card. I do have a lot of action, and I'm looking forward to talking some bets coming off of a winning week last week. Barely, just due to the fact that I had a big bet on the Shavkat Jeff Neal fight doesn't go to decision. It was my biggest bet of the year, and I was getting very, very, very worried. And then all of a sudden, Shavkat went out there and got the the standing rear naked choke. I think it was like less than a minute left. So I was able to come out, start March with a winning week, and hoping to continue it here in UFC Las Vegas. So before we get started, if you guys can please leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you have not already. As always, going to be talking about these fights from a betting perspective and a betting perspective only. If you want a further, more in-depth breakdown on why I like which fighter, on why I'm betting what, be sure to check out my full card breakdown and prediction video I posted on Wednesday, and then I also did a live stream on Friday. We did a contest last week, and the results are shocking. So the contest was to see who can come up with the biggest odds parlay that hits, of course. And there was a winner, and my goodness, listen to this parlay. Shout out to Shane Loveridge, 8349, and he had Tabitha Ricci, Ian Gary by KO, Dricus Duplessis over 1.5 rounds, Cody Garbrandt over 1.5 rounds, Bo Nickel under 1.5 rounds, Shavkat by sub or TKO, over 3.5 rounds in the Valentina fight, and then John Jones by TKO or sub, 8-leg parlay, and it was 82-1 in that hit. So shout out to Shane. Shane, hit me up on Twitter or Instagram with your PayPal or Cash App, and I will get you your winnings there. Heck of a hit, and I might do another contest like that next week for 286. But enough of that. I say we get into it here. We're going to start with the first fight of the night, going with Carlston Harris going against Jared Goodin. Yeah, nothing here. Kind of frustrating. I was waiting all week, or as soon as I found out it was announced, and after I had done taping it, I was waiting for like the under. Was hoping they set it at 2.5. That's not the case. They set it at 1.5. So I'm not touching this fight. Staying away from it, especially considering Jared Goodin did miss weight by a crazy amount. Kind of thought they'd take the fight off, but the fight is still on. So yeah, nothing on the first fight of the night. I do lean towards Carlston Harris. Getting that finish, but not much you can do here. I don't want to bet an under 1.5 in this fight, especially at chalk, and then I don't want to lay chalk on Carlston Harris inside the distance. First fight of the night is going to be a pass for me. Bruno Silva, Tyson Nam. We got Bruno Silva around minus 210, Tyson Nam around plus 180. No bet here either. A bet that I did like earlier in the week was the over 1.5. It was sitting at like minus 160, minus 170. Now it's around the minus 210 range. So I don't know if I'll get there because both these guys are dangerous. Nam has a ton of power. Silva has power. He's a black belt in BJJ. I think this fight does go over, but in terms of putting money on this fight, I'm going to stay away. The pick is going to be Silva, but not really anything sticking out in terms of a prop or money line perspective at this point. So no bets thus far. Moving on, we got Victor Henry going against Tony Gravely. Nothing here as well. This is probably the toughest fight for me to call personally on the card because I'm a big Tony Gravely fan. It's just, I think it's kind of a tough matchup for him going against Victor Henry, whose takedown defense is very good. His get-up game is very good. His cardio is very good. He's never been finished. So I think Victor Henry can definitely pose some problems here, but I think it's going to be a close fight. I don't want to lay chalk here on Victor Henry. If anything, it's probably honestly a dog or pass, but I'm going to stick with Victor Henry to get the job done. I don't know if it's a late finish or a decision win, but again, nothing really sticking out from a proper money line perspective. I promise I'll start getting into some bets. I have a lot of bets on this card, and we're going to start getting into those now. All right. So yeah, nothing on the first 3 fights for me. JJ Aldridge, Ariana Lipsky. I do have the over 1.5 parlayed in 2 different parlays. I'll talk about all 3 of my parlays at the end of the video. But yeah, I like the over 1.5 here. It's sitting around, I saw like a minus 350. I parlayed it around like minus 380. So yeah, I think it's a solid parlay piece just because Lipsky, she has been finished a lot and it's concerning, but JJ Aldridge, not a finisher. JJ Aldridge, 0 submissions in her entire career, 0 submission attempts as well. On top of that, Lipsky's never been submitted. So I don't see a sub here from Aldridge. But what I could see, though, is like a TKO if she's able to get on top like late in the fight. So I don't hate anybody taking a little shot on Aldridge inside the distance, a little shot on Aldridge by KO, just because Lipsky, her ground game is atrocious. Like, I was watching some of her fights. I'm like, man, this is bad. I mean, this is real bad. I mean, it looks like she's never trained a day in her life when she's on her back. So yeah, I think a JJ Aldridge like KO prop could be sneaky. And I actually did sprinkle very, very lightly a quarter unit on JJ Aldridge to win inside the distance at plus 250. It was the best line out there at the time on BetOnline Sportsbook. I sprinkled that kind of as a hedge, and then kind of as I think if she gets on top late in this fight, she can get a TKO victory. So I'm actually picking Aldridge to win this fight by late TKO. But the bet I do like the most is going to be that over 1.5 rounds as a parlay piece. And I have it in 2 parlays again. So moving on, Mario Batista going against Guido Canetti. Yeah, I like violence here. I do have the under 1.5 in a parlay, and then I also have the Mario Batista to win in either rounds 1 or 2 in a parlay as well. So it kind of feels a lot like the Bo Nickel fight last week, right, where everybody knew what's going to happen, right? Bo Nickel is going to go out there and sub Jamie Pickett in the first round. And everybody bet that, everybody made money, and I think it's kind of the same thing here. Mario Batista is going to get this fight down to the mat, and he's going to submit Guido Canetti, who's been submitted 4 times in his career. Guido Canetti's been finished in 5 of his 6 losses. I think Mario Batista comes out here and makes pretty quick work of Guido Canetti in the first round. I like the under 1.5. I like the fight won't start round 3. I like Mario Batista to win in either rounds 1 or rounds 2 to get that price tag down, and I do have this fight in a couple of parlays, and I'll talk about those parlays at the end of the video. All right, next we have Cedricus Dumas going against Josh Fremd. I have a small bet here on the under 1.5. It's plus money. I figured I'd take a shot. Plus 102 on FanDuel Sportsbook. I put a half unit on it just because this fight fight doesn't go to decisions like minus 350. I think this is going to be a car crash early on. I think both guys have a ton of power. I've seen Dumas land a nice head kick knockout. I've seen him knock out guys with his hands as well. Lots of power in his hands. And Josh Fremd, same thing. Lots of power in his hands. I think both guys have a good submission game, especially Dumas, though. Dumas' submission game has really, really impressed me. So I'm kind of leaning Dumas early sub here. But I do like that under 1.5 at plus money. I think that's probably the best way to play some violence here. Just a half unit shot on it, though. But yeah, looking for violence here in this fight. Next, we got David Grant going against Rafael Assunção. And I do have a half unit shot on Davy Grant to win inside the distance, plus 210 for a half a unit. If this fight does go the distance, Rafael Assunção probably has a good chance of winning, honestly, just because that means Rafael Assunção was probably able to mix in takedowns, was probably able to limit the volume of Davy Grant a little bit. But, Rafael Assunção, 40 years old at bantamweight. He's taken a lot of damage. He's been knocked out in 2 of his last 4 losses. He's been finished in, I think, 3 of his last 4 losses. Davy Grant, 3 finish wins in a row. And Davy Grant hits very hard. I think Davy Grant's going to come out here and just show the 40-year-old bantamweight Rafael Assunção no respect. I think he's going to land big shots, try to take his head off, and I kind of lean him doing that. So I like Davy Grant here. Don't hate the money line, but I got a little bit greedy here and went the inside the distance prop for Davy Grant at plus 210, and I have a half a unit on that. Moving on, we got Carl Williams going against Lucas Bresky. I like Carl Williams here. The line has moved quite a bit. On BetOnline Sportsbook, he actually opened up as a dog. I think it was last week or the week prior, and now he's a minus 250 favorite. And even like earlier this week, he was like minus 150, minus 160, something like that. So a lot of money coming in on Carl Williams, and I get it. At this point, I would look at the decision prop, and I actually did play the round 3 or decision prop on FanDuel Sportsbook. I put a half a unit on that at plus 145. And I know on DraftKings Sportsbook, they do a same game parlay where you can parlay the over 1.5 with the money line. And I think that's a great way to play Carl Williams. Carl Williams is not a finisher, and Bresky, I don't know, Bresky slows down like early on, but I think he'll be able to survive at least the full 3 rounds. But I like getting the extra round in there just in case Bresky does completely gas out, which it could definitely happen. But yeah, Carl Williams, very good wrestler. He's going to take down Bresky early and often, and he's going to just give him no opportunities to land anything like he did in this Contender Series fight. He went in there and his opponent landed like 1 strike across the full 15 minutes. So I think Williams by decision is the way to go, but I did take that extra 3rd round or decision on FanDuel Sportsbook, a plus 145 for a half a unit. Moving on, we got Vitor Petrino going against Anton Turkalj. I like violence here as well, so they kind of screwed up these violence props, at least early on, and they're still not bad, actually, late in the week. But I was able to get the fight doesn't go to decision at minus 155. I put a unit on that, maybe should have went a little bit heavier on it, but yeah, I think this fight plays out one of two ways. Either Vitor Petrino lands a big shot in the first round, he has a ton of power, Turkalj's very hittable, or we see Turkalj implement that wrestling, that grappling, and eventually find a sub or a TKO down the stretch. So I like violence here. I lean towards Turkalj, but I mean, he's very, very hittable, and Petrino does hit very hard. That's enough for me to stay away from the money line, but I do like violence here regardless. And yeah, that fight doesn't go to decision, still around like minus 175. I think that's a good way to play this fight. So yeah, 1 unit on that for me. The fight doesn't go to decision. All right, moving on. Said Nurmagomedov going against Jonathan Martinez. We have Nurmagomedov, big favorite, minus 265. Jonathan Martinez, plus 225. Again, nothing here for me. Some bets I was considering was maybe like a Jonathan Martinez decision bet. Didn't mind like the split decision prop, but I think I'm just going to stay away from this one. I think Nurmagomedov probably should be favored, but should it be minus 265? Probably. I just don't understand why. Like, he's not going to go out there and wrestle Martinez. I know he's Nurmagomedov and all that, but it's just not his game. He has like 2 takedowns in the UFC. And on the feet, I think it's going to be fairly competitive. So, yeah, I mean, it's a clear dog or pass for me, but I'm going to pass on this one. I think Nurmagomedov does have more finishing ability in this matchup, and if there was to be any grappling upside as well, which I'm not expecting, but it would be on Nurmagomedov's side, I don't know. I just have a weird feeling about this one. I'm going to stay away, but the pick is actually going to be Jonathan Martinez as a dog. I don't know if I'll get there from a betting perspective, though. All right, Nikita Krylov going against Ryan Spann. This fight was supposed to happen actually like 2 weeks ago, and I had like 5 units total on violence. I had like the under 1.5. I had the fight won't start round 3, and then I had the fight doesn't go to decision, something like that, parlayed up. I mean, I had like 5 units total, though, on violence in this matchup. The fight gets rebooked a couple weeks later after Krylov pulled out due to illness, and I like violence probably even more, and we're actually getting some better price tags on this violence. So I do have a couple bets here. I have the under 1.5 in a parlay. I have the fight won't start round 3 in a parlay. And then I have the fight won't start round 2 straight. I got that on DraftKings Sportsbook, plus 120, and I have a half a unit on that. So overall, as a whole, I have about, 1.5, just 2 units on violence. I have violence in 2 parlays, and I have the fight won't start round 2. I think this is going to be a car crash from the jump. I think the under 1.5 is the way to go. Both guys can win by knockout. Both guys can win by submission. Both guys can get finished by knockout, and both guys can get finished by submission. I mean, take a look at these finished losses. Krylov finished 7 times out of 9 losses, 6 of which coming by sub. Ryan Spann finished in 5 of 7 losses, 3 of which coming by knockout, 2 of which coming by sub. So yeah, I think both guys, I question their durability, and both guys are super dangerous, and I think the fact that it's a 3-round fight, I think they're going to get after it much quicker than a 5-round fight there. So I like violence. My favorite play is probably under 1.5, but I do have this fight played in a bunch of different ways, and I'll talk about those parlays at the end of the video. All right, moving on. We have Alexander Romanov going against Alexander Volkov. This is my highest exposed fight here. We got Romanov around minus 145, Volkov plus 125. So not only did I bet Ricardo Ramos on Sunday at minus 250, I was able to get Romanov on Sunday as well at minus 122, and I put a unit on that. I also put a half a unit on Alexander Romanov to win inside the distance at plus 115. And then after the weigh-ins, I put 1.5 units on the fight doesn't go to decision on DraftKings Sportsbook at minus 175, which the price tag on DraftKings makes no sense. I'm not sure what's going on there. DraftKings has by far the best fight doesn't go to decision line out there by a mile, so I like that. The under 2.5 on DK was like minus 135. So I'm not sure what's going on over there, but I'm going to take advantage of that, put a unit and a half on it. I think it's my biggest play of the card now that Ramos is off. So, yeah, I like violence here. Romanov looked like his old self on the scale, I'd say. I mean, he looked pretty bad, to be honest, but I think that only leads to more violence here. I think it only leads to, Romanov's going to go out there and try to get that first round finish. If he gets it, good. If he doesn't, there's going to be some serious problems. I like Romanov to get that first round finish personally. I have the money line bet. I have the inside the distance bet, but I do like that fight doesn't go to decision at the best at this point, probably just because if Romanov does not finish Volkov in the first round, he probably gasses out. and Volkov probably finishes him late. So I think the fight doesn't go decision at this point. It's the way to go. But I also do have the money line shot and the inside the distance shot on Romanov. So very heavily exposed to this heavyweight fight. Don't love it, to be honest, but we'll see what happens here. But yeah, give me Romanov to get the job done. But violence, first and foremost. All right, main event, we have Petr Yan going against Merab Dvalishvili. And yeah, I like Yan quite a bit in this matchup. I know a lot of people like the Merab side, and I get it. Merab's a very, very exciting fighter. People are probably very low on Yan at this point, but I feel like it's a tough matchup for one Merab Dvalishvili. I see Merab getting takedowns here. Not easily, but I see him getting takedowns. Petr Yan, 90% takedown defense, but he's going to get taken down. The problem I have is I don't see him holding down Petr Yan at all. And when this fight is at range, and I think it's going to be at range for a good chunk of it, I think Merab's kind of screwed here. I think he's going to get hurt a lot, hurt multiple times, and eventually finished. So what I did was I played Petr Yan inside the distance, and I got plus 240. I love that number. It has came down just a little bit. It's still plus 200 on most books. And I have a half unit on Petr Yan inside the distance, plus 240. And then what I also did is sprinkle the 3, 4, and 5 round props for Petr Yan. And these prices earlier in the week were crazy. It seems like everybody's doing it, so these prices have been hit. But listen to some of these numbers. Petr Yan round 3 plus 1,500 quarter unit. Petr Yan round 4 plus 2,200 quarter unit, bet 365. Petr Yan round 5 plus 3,300 quarter unit, bet 365. Those prices were crazy. So I'm hoping to hit one of these late props, but for most importantly, I do like Petr Yan quite a bit, and I do like him inside the distance quite a bit. I think he finishes Merab. If this fight goes the distance, though, it could get bad. The judges apparently hate Petr Yan a ton, so that's why I kind of played inside the distance. Like, you got to think, like, Yan needs to finish this fight. Don't let it go into the judges' hands. And I think both these guys hate each other. We saw it at the weigh-in. So, yeah, I like violence here. I like Petr Yan to implement that violence. And I like him to hopefully implement that violence in the 3rd, 4th, or 5th round. So that would be a big hit there. But, yeah, I do like Petr Yan quite a bit this week. All right, so going to go over my final plays. I have one money line since the Ramos fight's off. I have Alexander Volkov 1 unit minus 122. I have the Petrino Turcali fight doesn't go the distance, 1 unit minus 155. I have 3 parlays. I'll talk about them now. The first parlay, like I was talking about, the Ariana Lipsky, JJ Aldridge over 1.5 rounds. Parlayed with the Batista Canetti under 1.5 rounds. That came out to plus 101. I have 1 unit on that. I have the Ariana Lipsky, JJ Aldridge over 1.5 rounds, parlayed with the Krylov Span under 1.5 rounds. That came out to plus 108. I have 1 unit on that. And then the third parlay is I have Mario Batista to win in either round 1 or 2, parlayed with Nikita Krylov, Ryan Span, fight won't start round 3. That came out to plus 106, and I have a half a unit on that. So 2.5 units total in these parlays. I have a Krylov Span, fight won't start round 2, half a unit plus 120. I have a quarter unit sprinkle on Aldridge, wins inside the distance, plus 250, small sprinkle there. I have Petr Yan inside the distance, plus 240, half a unit. I have Petr Yan 3, 4, and 5 round sprinkles, a quarter unit on each. 1,500 round 3, 2,200 round 4, and then 3,300 round 5. I have Davy Grant wins inside the distance, plus 210, half a unit. Romanov wins inside the distance, plus 115, half a unit. Volkov Romanov fight won't go to decision, minus 175, 1.5 units. Carl Williams wins by either round 3 or decision, plus 145, half a unit. And then Cedricus Dumas, Josh Fremd, under 1.5 rounds, half a unit, plus 102. A lot of bets in terms of volume, but in terms of units, it's a small week for me. A lot of plus money sprinkles. I think I'm only laying chalk on like 3 plays out of like 15, 16 bets. So yeah, a lot of these small plus money sprinkles stick out. So hopefully hit a couple of these plus money sprinkles, come out on top. But yeah, not my favorite week in terms of like big bets. I mean, outside of Ramos, but that fight's off. But I think next week there's going to be some better spots. But I think this is a nice week to just go out there and find some of these plus money spots to stick out, get some violence as well. We're in the small cage, which is going to be fun as well. So I think it's going to only lead to more violence. And yeah, should be a good card overall. So leave a like, subscribe to the channel. Best of luck for UFC Las Vegas. We have UFC 286 coming up next week, which is going to be awesome. And then we finish the month of March with UFC San Antonio. Thank you guys for watching. Good luck for UFC Las Vegas. We'll talk to you soon. See you.